Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Wednesday. How's everyone doing? Where is everyone this morning? Where is everyone? Is my live stream working on YouTube? Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Sterling. Good morning, Odie Green. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning to Patrick and Rusty over on Rumble. Good morning, Heinrich. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day so far. We got a 1 day pull. We got a pullback. Market, what is the market crashing? We got a pullback. Good morning, Daniel. Gold to the moon. Charles, hello. Hello, hello, hello. All right, government still shut down. We got mortgage stuff that came out this morning. Not much there. We got Muslim speaking. We got Barr speaking. We got the EIA numbers. Crude triggered a double bottom. That's the only thing that could make me short-term bullish, and it triggered. We got the FOMC minutes today. And we got Cash and Carry speaking and Barr speaking. But Barr's speaking at, well, Barr's actually speaking right near the reopen time of the futures. We got Powell speaking tomorrow morning. That's really what we have. S&P, the heat map. Little possible. Well, we got Tesla, Amazon, and Nvidia. So 3 out of the 7 are up. Oracle, pretty decent pullback yesterday. What else? Nothing else to tie. Oh, you got little Cisco in here up 160 basis points. Yay, Cisco. All right, that's it. You got financials are up. Let's just look at the groups. Yeah, everything. Let's refresh. Everything up at that. Oh, everything is up now. Everything is up. We have little double bottom patterns triggering. They've already triggered on the S&P and hit first target. I don't know if anybody spotted that. So we'll get to those charts in a second, but everything is positive with comm services lagging. Fed watch still has 2 cuts priced in. Fear and greed back to neutral mode. Schiller PE. Oh boy, market, you got to buy it all. It's dirt cheap. 40.08. 40.08. When are we getting to 44? No earnings this morning. After the close, nothing to really talk about unless you're in one of those 4 stocks. Tomorrow morning, you got Delta and Pepsi are the big ones. All right. So, quiet morning today. Quiet morning. All right. Let's just take a look. We broke down. Now, we did break down. I said the only thing I could get me short was momentum. This, if people are wondering, this starts getting momentum. Wide body, back-to-back candles. Then we broke the trend line with a huge candle. Then we formed a double bottom. Double bottom, which actually triggered yesterday right around the closing time, the futures closing time, that is. And then just ground higher. I'm keeping an eye. This is just a best fit line because this has turned into a channeling double. We still have a couple targets higher. It's come up against the breakdown area. You see this prior breakdown area right here. We've come up against the resistance there. It's been trying to push up through there. If it does get through, their next 2 targets are roughly 67.79, 67.80, and then 67.84. And we are in a clear path move. So I'm just watching to see if it reverses. Technically the stop, the farthest away, well, I should say the invalidation point, because I wouldn't ride it if it was breaking this trend line. Would not be riding it lower just because it's turning into a channeling double. The invalidation point is 67.58.25. All right. Other than that, let's take a look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture, we hit the 8 EMA yesterday. So we technically returned to the daily rotation zone. We still got cycles heading down. We still have the divergence on the daily. If we do pull back and break this low, I'm really paying attention to yesterday's low, because if we break yesterday's low, we have about a 67.35 as first target, 67.13, 67.15 is the second target. The bottom of the rotation zone's at right about 66.90. right at the 62.5, and we all know what that is. We all know what that is. Good morning, Rick. Which index looks strongest and the weakest? Well, the S&P still looks the strongest. Even, it's bounced the most coming off this little double bottom. The NASDAQ, that's a good question, Rick. See, why I also say that is because look at this. You have that channeling double, which is technically confirmed, but look at that channel. So this is definitely weaker. It hasn't even hit the first target the S&P has. Now, by the way, if this can get back above 25,100, I'm using a modified first target of 25,131 instead of the double target 25,146 for a stop raise at least. And you got 25,172 area. I'd actually bump that down to right around 25,160 and then 25,200. Remember, you can always modify the targets. Just make sure you have proper reward to risk. Same thing here, channeling double. So we can't actually raise the stop, but again, would I be riding this if this breaks it's technically a best fit line. Why is it a best fit line? Because this spikes through and this spikes through, but it fits the move rather nicely. So it's not technically a trend line, it's a best fit line. So the NASDAQ is not as strong as the S&P. The NASDAQ also returned the 8 EMA, so I'm paying attention to yesterday's low. We start breaking there about 24,950 area. Then we got very key 24,847. So 24,850 is very key if we start pulling back more. And this could be setting up for more of a rounded top, at least to a pullback to the closer to the bottom of the rotation zone. The Dow, we do not have a double. We do not have a double. The Dow would be about the second most since it's broken above a little minor resistance base, but key resistance is trading against now at 47,000. We take out that, we're roughly looking at about 47,050, and then major about 47,121. We've topped out there. We spiked even up there yesterday. Key support for me still down at 46,751. Minor support at 46,860. The Russell, very little bounce. You got another this is actually a proper trend line. That's the only thing I'm watching. A major resistance back. Remember, that was support yesterday, 2489. That was broken with momentum. That's actually in the major resistance area. So if I had to rank these for Rick, it would be S&P, Dow, NASDAQ, Russell. That's the order of bullishness. So in order of bearishness, it would be Russell, then NASDAQ on breakdowns. VIX, we got above 17 yesterday. We're holding above there. We start dropping below there, I'll start just watching for some grinding higher. If we start now accelerating it back above about 1725, I'll start watching for more potential pullback, especially those trend lines or best fit lines break. The DAX, just moving on up. Looks like it wants to really take out the highs. 24,956, 25,170. No trigger. There's still a valid potential double in the note futures. 10-year note futures not triggered yet. Little rise, especially yesterday off the sell-off. Remember, this is not a double in the yields, but coming into some key support, I moved this level slightly. It's about 4.09. Crude did trigger this double bottom pattern. You can see it pretty well in the 4-hour. This hit the levels, buying pressure down here, hit the first target. Watching for the pullback now into the 4-hour rotation zone. But the first target is virtually hit. So that's at least a stop raise on this. The farthest away the stop would be is 61.30, where you were getting dips below that being all the buying pressure. And that would be on a close below that level. I'm watching the 4-hour rotation zone on this. And again, this is just a quick little bottoming pattern. We still got cycles going up. We've hit the other end of the rotation zone now, so that's why it's so definitely raise a stop and watch that 4-hour rotation zone. If it breaks through the rotation zone is 63.17, 63.52, where the 50 EMA is. Gold is going in. I mean, here you go. Gold's getting to the mania top. Mania, especially, geez. Now I'm hearing gold is the double by the end. Gold and silver. It's not just gold. It's gold and silver double by the end of the year. We're actually in that sort of with the latecomers. The latecomers, the kind of people who have chased. I'm not, I know some people who made some money on some of these things like AMC, GameStop, but the people who chase that are now chasing gold and silver. Take that for what it's worth. Not saying to short this, but just know where your short-term stops are. We don't even have pausing. The last little minor pausing area now. The last little minor pausing area. All right. Gives us 41.22 as the next harmonic. We're getting, look at the weekly. Rolling up parabolic. So, I also wouldn't be rushing into this now, especially with leverage. But, you do you. There you go. And a double by then. See, this is getting into that GameStop AMC. Double. It's going to double by double by the end of the year. And you ask the same people about, well, what about Nvidia's old news now? Nvidia's old news. It's all gold. It's all gold and silver all the time. Silver 100. If I hear silver 100 one more time, silver 100. So it's going to, this is the move in silver. Here's your weekly, and it's going to double by the end of the year. Double. Well, it technically have to be, but silver is the target. It's 100. Just be careful. 49 is the next harmonic. Just be careful. So yes, it's technically a double, but it's one of the lower probability ones. Wouldn't even be, and I wouldn't short it. Gold hit his monthly target for dark screen. Charles thought 6 traders. Charles 6. No, Charles 10K, 8K, 8K at least, maybe 10K. Spot palladium rises nearly 6%. Yeah, I didn't see that. Coca-Cola introduced mini 7.5 ounce cans. Wonder what the cost of that'll be. You can pay a lot for a little Coke. A little Coca-Cola. Oh boy. What? All right. Wedbush is that. All right. No, don't. Their guidance on tests. First of all, their slimmed down version of the S and the Y and what's the other one? I just blanked out 3. They're actually technically more expensive than the old version without the tax credits. So you know what? Wedbush is always insanely bullish. You're going to wait till you see what happens next quarter with their deliveries. Of course they do. There is no robotaxi progress. Of course there is. But Nvidia, I'm sorry, you're old news. You gotta buy gold and silver because it's gonna double according to the apes. I'll call them still the AMC apes. It's gonna double. Copper, the lower probability double because this is stair stepping higher against the first key target. That would just be a minor pullback. Gonna double. What else do we have? Dollar index. Hey, yesterday closing right at key resistance, breaking up, getting a little selling pressure now. But I'm going to really be interested to where this goes. Overbought, so would not be surprised to see a pullback. What else do we have? We got the yen continuing, even closing above. Look at this, closing above another key level of resistance, weakening yen. Also, let's see where today closes to see if it does. I gotta adjust this. I forgot to adjust this. Sorry. We closed above the 62.5 yesterday. So we've tipped the probabilities for, again, we're closing above the key rollover zone. So I'm now going to continue to watch for weaker yen. It already broke out, and now we've triggered the probabilities shift. Spiders, back to the rotation zone also. Little gap up today, so on a rollover play, 669.12. Then we're watching yesterday's lows, very key, 667.65 area. We break below that. We're looking at a harmonic cluster around 666. Then the next target, if we did continue to pull back, would be 663.70. Okay, still to the upside. There's some key, very key resistance right around 671.50. And then if it takes out the highs over the next few days, 675.38. The Qs hitting the next harmonic 609.85 and then reversing. So if we do take out yesterday's highs at some point, you have a cluster 612.77 to 613.70 area. Right now, gap up, so rollover gap play would be to 604.51. Very key is just like the futures. Yesterday's low, right around 603. You break below that. Minor is 601.75. More substantial if we continue to pull back is 599, 599.11. Bitcoin, back to the rotation zone, rotating up. Going to see if we form another significant topping pattern on this rotation back up. Tesla, nothing yet. Still holding the rotation zone. A little gap up today. Nothing yet to talk about. NVIDIA, not technically in double top territory, just missed yesterday. Remember, NVIDIA's old news, but NVIDIA holding. I'll be watching to see if it breaks down below this key support level, then takes out the rotation zone. Good morning, Anissa. How are you today? Why is it the bears always have the best rational arguments? Because they're not insane. But you know what? The maniacs, that chase things higher can continue to push things higher. And this again, is why it's the famous quote. Things can, whatever, it's just, I don't know what the exact quote is, but it's things can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent, because people group think and group tendencies are to rush into everything. That's why you also get blow off tops, like rushing into gold. How long have we been talking about gold? And now you're getting people rush into it. This is not the time to rush in. But I've also been talking about the dollar index for a while, and that's just grinding higher. And I keep hearing dollars debate. We talked about this on Monday. Future says dollars debasing, dollars debasing. That's why you got to own gold. Actually, you know what? Dollars around some areas where it traded in April. Yes, it had a major sell-off, but dollars started to, so you can't use that argument right now. And if I hear one more person say that you got to own gold and Bitcoin, the dollar's going away, the dollar's not going anywhere anytime soon. You know what? So there you go. Yes, is this debt a problem? It's a debt problem worldwide, though. Keep watching the yen. It's going to get very interesting with the yen again. They're not necessarily in futures. They love gold ETFs too, especially leverage gold. Leverage gold ETFs, That's the way to go, baby. All right? You don't have to trade futures. I guess manias of greed, human nature is a given. Yep. So this whole thing, the dollar keeps getting well. The dollar's putting in a rounding bottom with a potential double. So I keep hearing dollars going away. And ask some of these people, how are you gonna go buy your coffee? So you got to exchange. What you gonna exchange gold for? You can't walk into Starbucks with a gold coin and buy a cup. Well, you wouldn't want to with a gold coin, but you can't even take in fractional stuff and buy your cup of coffee. What are you gonna? Oh, well, I sell it for what? Dollars. Oh, so you still have to exchange it for something. Yes, there's a couple places out there that will take some gold. Not generally in the retail sector. Bitcoin. Did you go to Starbucks and buy your coffee with Bitcoin? No. What do? I exchange it. I take some profits. What do you put it in? And if you're in America, I put it in dollars. If you're in Europe, I put it in euros. Okay. Fiat, yes, because of the global debt. I'm not going to argue. The debt is out of control. But still, you're still exchanging for fiat at this point. And we've gone vertical. Just take that for what it's worth. Can it go more vertical? Yes, but know where your short-term stops are. What else? Nothing much. Nothing much. S&P still just trying to grind higher. It's trying to test some already previous highs. Again, we got the doubles. Let's just check the NASDAQ with the double, because that was the weaker one. Trying to grind higher again. So you get it, dark screen. Dollars needed. I've told you about gold since 1900. Yeah. And that's not to say, I mean, this is just a long-term play, but we are getting way overdone. Here's another one. Not that you just remember. What did Coco do? Not Coco on the channel, who I haven't seen in forever. We got first vertical up, vertical Coco. Boom, boom. Long base sideways. Went vertical again, eked out a new high. Now look at this. Look at this. Coco breaking down. These patterns historically are not sustainable. So this was an extended one. Then we went vertical again. Now we're breaking down. Will Coco at some, I bet you we see at some point, is it going to get there straight? No. Give it maybe another year or two. We could easily see 3,000 again. Easily. Are we going to bounce? Yes, you're going to bounce along the way. But these patterns look familiar. If I zoomed in on this, does this look familiar before you have the red bars? Does this look, whoop, see, completely vertical. And then, whoop. That's why I'm saying being careful out there, because these patterns, more often than not, and look where it came back to, between the 50 and the 62.5, bounced again, made a new high. But what are we doing now? We're closing below key support and the 62.5. 3,500 is roughly the 87.5 rule. Again, would I be chasing it lower at this point? No, I'd be watching for bounces and rollover plays. So that's just another example. There you go with the Coco. All right, everyone. I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful trading day. Just be careful when things go vertical. I don't know where Coco is. One of the toughest things we face navigating the market today is proliferation of so-called experts. That's why you must educate yourself and hopefully find someone. Yeah, and it's not just me. Find somebody good and find somebody consistent. And when some people are talking about doubles, triples, quadruples, quintuples, easy money, run the other way. Run the other way. We've turned into a gambling society, not just with DraftKings and everything else and sports betting, but a gambling in the markets. Go after those 100 baggers, 10 baggers. If it's not a 10 bagger, it's not worth investing in. Slow and steady wins the race. Okay? That's all I'm saying. You're welcome, Anissa. Hey, OD Green. Again, thanks, Sterling. Thank you for typing that in there. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I will see you all back tomorrow. I hope you have a good day at work. You're back to work, Sterling. 1984, 2025. Hard to tell at the moment. Well, I think it's 1984 in terms of the novel, in terms of Orwell. But that's a conversation for another day. All right. Bye for now, everyone.